Hey, what's good people? Welcome to the People's Journal, where authentic stories are told by real people. I'm your host, PacMan MR925, Ndlovu and Lucky. Man. Thank you so much to everyone that's been following the People's Journal, showing love on our Instagram page, on our Facebook page, and everywhere we are. People always reach out and saying, thank you for the beautiful job that you guys are doing. We really appreciate that, the love and the support. And for those of you who haven't connected with us, please do so. On Instagram, it's at TPJ_podcast, but we're not there. Now, on this episode, which is episode number 7, I, your host, PacMan MR925, am being interviewed by Lucky Ndlovu, who was our episode 6 guest. He's now the founder of How Lucky Studios, and we got to sit down and break bread into who's PacMan MR925, where does he come from, what does he stand for, and what can he share about his journey. So if you've been curious about who the host of the People's Journal is, then this is the episode for you to get to know the host of the People's Journal. So yeah, please do stick around, enjoy the conversation, share some of your thoughts, some of your opinions on our Instagram page at TPJ_podcast. Enjoy.
All right, cool. Hi there, my name is Lucky Ndlovu and welcome to the first episode of the first season. Today I am sitting with Ndlovu, also known or better known as PacMan MR925. We're going to talk a little bit about that. He also has a podcast known as The People's Journal, where authentic stories are told by authentic people. We're going to talk about that as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got so much. If I were to read his resume, I'd probably be reading the whole hour of the podcast. But welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting the invite. As you know, I am recording this both for video and audio purposes.
Sure.
And thank you also for helping us out with your kid,
Yeah.
I think this also is another way of doing podcasts, having the visual and the audio part recorded both at once. Just introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about the things you do and your day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's always a hard one. But first and foremost, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It really does feel good to be the other guy.
On the other side.
On the other side,
Yeah.
because most of the time I'm the one, next to the yellow mic. But today it feels good, I'm more relaxed and more chilled. But yeah, so Kamala Mutsepo.
Yeah.
Tsepo Mwati.
Yeah.
People call me PacMan MR925 in Tambo Yomtlakasi or Tintizo Chokega.
Okay.
And I'm a podcaster, I'm a creative, I'm a dad, I'm a lover, I'm a brother, I'm God's instrument more than anything.
Great.
So anything and everything else that I feel like I'm doing or have achieved, it's because of God, So if you had to ask me, Guti, who's Tsepo, who's PacMan, I'd just say I'm an instrument of God, Yeah. So that's who I am.
Great. Great. How long now have you been a father, dad?
Now going for six months.
Great.
Yeah, so I'm new in this thing. I'm new.
How does it feel?
It feels great, It's a whole new experience. I'm learning a lot of things. More than anything, my smile, it's kind of wide now, compared to before. It's like now everybody can see all my teeth, even the one at the back,
That's great.
Because whenever I hear my child's name, so my child's name is Aura.
Aura.
Yeah. So whenever I hear her name being called out, I'm just like, wow, that's my DNA,
Yeah.
So yeah, the experience has been good. I mean, obviously it has its ups and downs.
Okay.
But I choose to embrace both of them. You
Yeah.
know, I think these days I live with this philosophy of saying there is no good or bad experience.
Yeah.
You know, life on its own is an experience.
Yeah.
So embrace it as it comes.
Yeah. I mean, there are some hard times where I feel that it is okay to smile through difficulties.
Sure.
It is okay to cry. It is okay to be happy.
Sure.
And it is okay to embrace the moment and embrace what you're going through, be it trying times or beautiful times. So I really wanna talk about quite a few things, and I don't know if we do have the time, but we'll try. We'll try.
I hope so. Yeah.
We'll try. Take me through your journey. Number one, I want to ask you, cause every time when you say 9 to 5, to me, the 9 to 5 that I think about, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
It's the job. You know, people work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So when you say 9 to 5, I'm like, oh, so you're doing this podcast from 8 until 5 or something, or from 9 until 5. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But like, you change and say, Intambo yomhlakazi.
Why tint is okay?
Absolutely. So 9 to 5, it's like, also 9 to 5 for me, it's the jewelry.
The jewelry.
Oh, so
correct.
You are the jewelry. Oh, correct. Nice. So I wanted to also let you take me through your journey of discovery during or after high school, and your entry, because you a city alumni, right?
Sure.
Which year was this?
2016.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Can you take us a bit about your discovery? How did you know that you want to be an MC, you want to be a podcaster, or you want to do radio presenting?
It's funny because so you're saying I must take you after high school.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because all those things for me started while I was in high school.
Oh, how did they start?
You know, so let me just break down the name. So the 9 to 5 was back in high school, Benye Pansul.
Okay.
You know?
Like a dancer.
That's something we have in common. We've also been that, you know, and where I used to school in 9 to 5 was the thing. You know, it was, if you did not have a 9 to 5 chain, earring, you were left out.
Yeah.
You felt like you did not belong.
Yeah.
You know, so I was one of the people that had collections of those. I had big ones, small ones, medium ones. You know, if in 95 or Funugulbuza, you'd ask them from Ikruyami, Abant Benghamba Nabo, and me. You know, and there was this lady Ayanda, who was a close friend of mine in high school, and she was more artistic, you know, and she's the one that gave me Ntambo Yomtlakasi and the 9 to 5, and they'd always say, "I will attend my 9 to 5," you know. And then obviously when people always start to affirm those things about you, you end up becoming that, and to them they always remember you ngazo zona lezo zinto. Maungalfaganga, to them it's like, oh, today I'll go my 9 to 5, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, let me dab that name, you know, and put it in my moniker, you know. So 9 to 5 comes from those earrings. Intambo Yomtlakasi. So also in high school, all of my friends started growing beard. I still struggle with that even today, you know. So I had this only one, Bevelen Sumpenyami, you know. And whenever I was in a situation at school, I'd always start brushing that one. When jitters would, you know, may not go, you know, and something would spark. If I had to solve a problem, or there was something that was needed, or I had to think a certain way, I'd start playing with that one, you know. And she said to me, "Hey, when it's like," then I was like, oh, so as soon as I touch here,
there's
like
power
you know, there's power there, and I tapped that. And then it added to PacMan, which I got from my friend Legends. And how I got that was, we were selling caps at those times, the 90s and 80s caps, and there was a one that had the PacMan sign, you know. And at that time we were starting up a brand, and we just wanted to be different, you know. And he said, "Why don't you call yourself PacMan?" You know. And I was like, nah, PacMan. And he's like, nah. And he started calling me that. PacMan, you know. And when the Okay Malum Cook, the Casper Kusheshe song came in, and Malum Kuket was like, PacMan, bonke nyabakwe, my only competition is that man in the mirror. Everybody tapped it and said, PacMan. And I was still in high school. And then that's how then the name became what it is to me and everybody else that knows me. With regards to MCing, how I got into that was also in high school. I was bored seeing every time near Valentine's Day we'd have beauty contest, you know, and we decided again, mina nalo uayanda, you know, because we were close friends, and it's like her and I were like into the future in terms of our thinking, in terms of how we did things, you know, and the environment that we were in did not allow us, you know. And this one time I remember we approached the events committee Basaskoleni to try and convince them to do a different event at Skoleni where we'd have a dance, people coming in to dance, you know, we'd have actually a bash, you know, that it was that, you know, and excuse all the contest thing because it's something we've been doing for long. And then on that event, obviously we then required an MC, and then I had to fill up the gap, and it started from there. I started loving it from there. I realized that, you know what, man, I'm an energizer, you know, and I've got this aura about me that when I come to the stage, people feel it. And then it started growing from there, you know. But I think more than anything, it started from my imagination. I always say, like, it's crazy because now we're starting from high school and I'm taking it back. I hope we have time, you know, because going back to primary yet again, I was known as Umsawawa as a little boy because I used to sing ingoma zaka Umsawawa. Whenever there's performances, I'd perform Umsawawa, you know. So all these things, when I look at them today, they are connecting, they are dots, you know, they're coming together. I'm like, oh, so I started from there to here. So I've always been like a stage person. I've never, I wouldn't say I don't have a stage fright. I think I have that side of me that shows Guta Peck is shy, but when it comes to this, like I said, Guta, I'm God's instrument, and I feel like God wants me to use this to touch his people, you know. That's where the MCing, that's where everything that I'm doing till today, which is media related, comes from.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. What a journey. What a journey. And are you still doing the MCing stuff at
Most
the moment,
def.
or you just focusing on the podcast?
The podcast is bringing that back. Fine enough.
Absolutely.
You know, the podcast is bringing that back. I don't think I'll ever stop being an MC. I don't think I'll ever stop because being an MC is being a public speaker, you know, and I love being behind the mics. I love talking to people, you know, so I don't think it's something that will end. I haven't even begun or started, you know, the journey is only showing me the potential. You know, it's only showing me the possibilities. So I think it's only the beginning.
Nice. Nice. And you obviously want to do some radio?
Radio is my first actual dream. I remember at high school during the matric years when Besese Sovala, you know, those last, you know, moments, and they made us see me in front of a podium, and that was the first time I stood in front of a podium, and you had to write your pledges there, you know. And I remember pledging that I will in 5 years time work in the biggest radio station in South Africa, you know. And at that time the biggest radio station obviously is Kozi, you know, but in my head I thought Metro, why, you know. So radio has always been what I have always aspired to work in, to be in, for one reason only, touching people's lives.
Nice.
You know, it's always been about that, informing people and touching people's lives. I really enjoyed listening to your DJ Smooths, you know, to your, there were a lot FM, most of them, I think we know, I'm a veteran, the pioneers.
When they were still in mind.
Yeah. So radio has always just been a thing. And it's just a blessing now that, after that 5 years, I couldn't get into radio, but I've been trying. And to realize that, wow, now I have a platform that looks like radio, but it's more, because in the times that we're living in, we need such platforms. So radio is the first love.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want us to go through a bit of the interviews you already have on your podcast, starting with Imvelaphi.
Yeah.
You interviewed Mzilakata. Yeah. How was that? What's the if people have to go and listen to your Imvelaphi EP, what are they going to get? What should they expect?
So one of the things that I love about Imvelaphi EP, so it's because for the first time, because me in podcasting, it's a journey, you know. So it was me exploring and saying, let me try out something I haven't tried before. Yeah. If you listen to the other interviews, you'd hear they have a certain trade or a certain structure, But with Imvelaphi, it was more of like, let me try and use this platform as a way of, let me find artists, and expose their work, and with Imvelaphi, that's why when the show starts, I say, you can expect a session, not an interview, but a session, because for the first time, I had to play songs, and from those songs, we talk about those songs, So Imvelaphi EP, what a person can expect, one, a person can expect to be inspired. Two, a person can expect to listen to something they haven't heard before. Yeah. When you listen to the EP itself, it has it's so he calls it traditional ancient music, and it's music that reminds you of your roots, So when someone listens to that, it might provoke them to go back and say, I want to actually tap back. And funny enough, someone gave me feedback and they were like, what? I just listened to this in my car and I'm so amazed and shocked. And I realize now the importance of going back. If you can look around right now, it's the time for us as, as an African community to start tapping back and realizing it's just for us to find our identity and to find where we come from as a people, because we are still lost, in this mist, of the world for a lot of factors, So Imvelaphi just takes you back. It encourages you to say, let me tap back to my history. Outing buyele limbo, outing buyele msamo, let me know my lineage, let me understand isibongo sami, let me understand my name, because once you understand those things, then you won't have fear living, right? Fear exists, of course, but how you going to tackle things? Like I always say this, Guti, I have peers where we've been guma round tables and we've sat nama millionaires or people who've made it, and we obviously know Guti, those people will intimidate you, right? But it's like when you know yourself, you can sit on those round tables, on those chairs, now you're confident, knowing who you are, even when you negotiate the deals and whatever that you're doing, Guti, you're not compromising yourself. You're not selling yourself short because you know who you are. And you know that you are protected all the time by what? By your ancestors, by the gods, but you understand that from the core. And I think it's important. Clicks showed us that.
All right. I hear you.
Yeah.
So there are quite a few that are still online. People can find Imvelaphi, Modern Day Relationships. You were sitting with Ukanyisile, is it? Uboniswa. You were sitting with Uboniswa, and I know Uboniswa. Yeah, we kind of shared the table. Probably she said something, but I know Uboniswa.
Yeah.
We were in the same school, in the same class and stuff.
Sure.
Like that. And I was listening to it, by the way, and interesting how a point of view matters most of the time. There's also a book that I'm reading called Milk and Honey. And there's a passage where this writer says that when having sex, right, is only one-sided, meaning the other party is not committed, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, it's not sex, it's rape. And right, and I feel like also that's the discussion around that with the ladies was about like both parties should be committed towards their relationship, because the title is called what? Modern day relationships.
Yeah.
And I feel like with these times that we're in, very interesting. I mean, back then you could stay a week without speaking to your partner and use a month or whatever, but now somebody stays 30 minutes offline from your WhatsApp or whatever, and when they come back they have to explain themselves. Where have you been? What are you doing? Or someone be quiet, it gets like quiet or silent for the whole day, and when they come back you have to kind of explain what you've been doing, what you were doing. I feel like I do understand why you guys chose that title, but also we can kind of explore into it and to say this modern types of relationships are quite different from the the old times relationship, which is interesting for me. The way you guys kind of explored titles of relationships and people kind of confessing that, look, I come from a polygamous house and I practice polygamy, and I think and I feel like it's fair if you would do that, like at the beginning of whatever you want to do, to kind of have a disclaimer to the person you're about to start wanting to have a relationship with.
That's true.
And then we've got Strength of a Woman.
Okay.
And there's another motivation. Tell me a bit about that. What inspired you to want to interview or to want that type of topic in the podcast?
Right. I think before getting into that, I would be doing some injustices if I do not touch on a modern day relationship.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So with a modern day relationship, it was just us starting a conversation.
Okay.
Right. We are also learning how to conduct ourselves and how to be present in this new in this time where we are in relationships, because today's relationships have so much pressure from social media, from the community, the society. You're expected to be a certain way. It's still compared to, but back in the days, this is what we used to do, and some of the things that we are applying are things we used to do, or things that we used to see, So it was just us starting a conversation from our experience, from our perspective, but also opening up the floor to everyone, who has a different experience, who has a different input that they can add. That's why we said modern days relationship. In your modern day relationship, if you are gay, what's your experience? If you're lesbian, if you're transgender, if you're in a polygamist relationship, if you're in a long distance, relationship, if you're in a friends with benefits relationship. And one of the things for me that stood out from that interview was when the ladies started saying, in all relationship, you must be consent. Set your intentions clear. This is
what I want.
Because that's where I think our relationships these days, we are confused. A person would say they want love, but they know they want the coochie.
I see.
A person would say they want love, but they know they just want the money. They want marriage, but they know, you understand? So it was just to say, let's be consent. State what you need, and to explore other people's experiences. But more than anything, a modern day relationship was just us starting a conversation. I don't think we have it all figured out. I don't even want to own that and say, this is what modern day relationship is. No, we are learning. This is a journey. But in us learning, let's start these conversations. Let's talk about it. Come with your input. What's your experience? This is mine. This is how I've seen and viewed the world. How have you viewed it? From your experience, you've been in a 10-year relationship, you were married, you got divorced. You have to start all over again. What are the things that you learned that you can say this and that did not work in this time? You're right? 4 years, 3 years back, it worked.
Yeah.
But modern day, it's modifying it every time, you know, and saying it worked yesterday. Today, it's a different.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know. So, good modern day, that's what we're exploiting or exploring. In strength of woman. Whew.
How did that topic come about?
I had felt like the People's Journal had so many male guests coming into the show.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't want it to sound like it's a male show or Hopeko interview abangani bakhe.
Yeah.
You know, because people sometimes get it twisted.
Yeah.
You know, and also I think strength of woman came as, damn, there's just so much that's happening in the world with regards to what's affecting women.
Yeah.
You know, and more than anything, when we talk about women issues, we talk about women issue from a point of view of weakness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I wanted to empower women. I wanted to give women the platform to say, be you. Be as authentic as you are and own your stories.
Yeah.
You know, women go through a lot. You know, so I wanted women to come together, not only as women, but also include us guys and saying, this is our strength.
Yeah.
And you need to respect it.
Yeah.
Funny enough, the other day we were just talking about, as guys, Guti, you know, it's so difficult to approach a woman who's successful as a guy because you feel intimidated. You feel like I can't handle, you know. And when you look at such things, they then take you back and saying, okay, cool. Yes, we are intimidated by those things and so forth, but we need to learn, you know, to embrace those strengths, you know, of women who are in power. I mean, my woman is a feminist. Every day, we have to have a certain debate, you know.
Yeah.
I know I have to conduct myself a certain way if I want. I'm not just going to talk about women, because I know then we're going to have issues because I'd have to justify so many things, you know, or I'd have to unlearn so many things from just the conversations that we have. So a strength of women was coming from that place to saying, yes, so many of us men are intimidated by this new concept of feminism, but more than anything, we need to understand what it is, what it represents, but also from the female's perspective or female side, they need to be clear also with what is feminism, what is the strength of a woman, right? Giving birth, that's a strength. We take that lightly as guys. After giving birth, right? And they have to pick up the pieces, right? Most women go through depression because of what's happening. Most women go through depression because of the labeling. You know, where's your strength in that? How do you find your strength? Your strength is in your stories. Hence why I say authentic stories told by real people. So own your story. That's your strength. So I was coming from different angles with that. You know, it's also a conversation starter. You know, to say I'm starting a conversation. Absolutely. Let us in, and from us as male, you know, let us not be fearful, but let's embrace the strength of a woman. Let's not feel like, because the killing that's happening, you know, where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place of fear? Where is it coming from? Funny enough, if I might just extend on that, I was listening to an interview by Ustilo Makolite, and he was interviewing Dr. Mbuiseni, the EFF. Yes. And they touched on that, Guti. Most of the abuse that's happening with regards to men abusing women comes from, you know, as guys, you know, Guti, Maui one, you have that fear of approacher umuntu wesimame. Oshisayo, like, oh, but when we're chilling in the corners as guys, hey, the confidence, you know, hey, my babies, hey, you know. So, damn, I lost my train of thought. But from that, they said, Guti, most of the time, the reason why then the killings and everything starts to happen, it's because it comes from that point of fear, you know, where you know that you are fearful, so you decide to use a different strength, you know, to show Guti, Mena, you know, I'm here, I'm a man, you need to listen to me, you know, because you haven't figured it yourself enough to say, Ni one, let me face this woman. I had a situation with a friend whereby this friend of mine had a crush Gulumdan, but they couldn't approach them because they feared that woman because of the beauty and everything, right? And you could see now the fear is causing frustration because the comments, lumntana lo ugrand yena mara uvana ubanbani wenza ini, you understand? Till I said to him, no, why don't maybe you try a different creative approach, And I remember he started recording a song and he sent it to this woman. And after that, we had a conversation and he said to me, now I feel free. I do not have that fear anymore. And you can see Guti now, he's not even trying to find things that he can back up and say in as a word to say, as an excuse, So a strength of a woman was also coming from that place. So it's crazy, it's broad, but it's a conversation starter. Yeah, let's have these conversations.
And then we have I'm Born for People.
I love that one.
Why?
It's always a reference wherever Lang Nyakon and someone has listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's also a conversation starter.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. We haven't really. It's a conversation. It's a starter before getting to the full meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I Am Born for People came at a time where I myself, was unlearning so many things and learning so many things and needed a different perspective on some of the things that I was unlearning.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I thought these are things I believed in. And thought these are things that, the way things should be, and I learned a lot from there. I learned a lot about the power of word and action. I learned a lot about love. Because I remember in the conversation, love came up, and you said, Wuti, sometimes when you pray and ask for love, God will send broken people.
Absolutely.
For you to love them.
Yeah.
And that's when you learn.
Yeah.
When I got in a relationship with my girlfriend, she was coming out of the state of depression. She was recovering from that. Brand new, she's been hospitalized. You understand? I was coming from a point of pain. I had lost my mother, that history on itself. So many blaming people. I remember when we got together, we had so much pain, but because of love, we ended up healing each other. You understand? So, I Am Born for People is one of my favorite because it's a motivation. It's everyday, keep going type of, if you need that encouragement, if you need some motivation, And for the main fact, Tuguti, it was someone whom I respect, someone who his life has been so impactful, through me seeing him from a far coast, through me being in his space when he was still a choreographer, So that's why I'm saying it's special. But more than anything, the title, I Am Born for People. You said you are a solution in someone's life. I just said I'm an instrument that God uses me to touch his people.
Absolutely.
So when you understand that, then you understand why I'm born for people.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like it is also like an ongoing practice of life. Also, the book that I'm reading, Milk and Honey, the writer states as well that so the hard questions the writer and says, why are you being kind to people who are unkind to you? Why are you showing that kindness? Why are you showing that? And the writer says that because people have not been kind to me. And I'm giving out to this kindness because people have not been kind to me. And it's not because they are kind to me. And that's like the most difficult thing to do, Usually people want to live on an eye for an eye.
Sure.
Which is very dangerous.
It is.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous philosophy. And I feel like if we are to impact the next generation, we are to impact the next generation with what we have and how we live. Because I feel like preaching is not only a pulpit thing. You are preaching in your daily life. So knowing that each and every one of us are born for people, your weakness is my strength and my strength is your weakness. We are unequal. So that is what you can get on the I'm Born for People podcast, right? On the People's Journal, right? I just want to I think we did. Do we talk about being a dad? How does it feel to be a dad? And you're saying now it's 6 months?
It's 6 months.
Boy or girl?
Girl.
Oh, nice. And you spoke about her name being Aura.
Yeah.
Nice. How long have you been seeing the mother of your child, if I may ask, if I'm allowed to?
No, it's all good. I think more than anything, because we are instruments. You know? So our life is meant to teach people. Like I'm saying, Guti Ukelwam has a background of coming from depression. And she speaks openly about it. That's why Nama can sit on this chair and be open about it. I've been seeing her for 4 years.
Nice.
We actually met at CTA South Africa. I remember going to CTA and they were telling us these benefits. You will have a lifetime friend. You're going to find a lifetime friend here. You're going to find a business partner here. Some have gotten married. Some. And I was just sitting there and like, listen to these people selling us dreams. Ben knew I was coming from a heartbreak at that time. Where I was dating this girl, but they had to grow up. They had to, go to varsity. I think most of us guys have been in that situation. And she had to leave me behind. Because I wasn't in varsity. I was in the hood, the township, Benkekeles. And she was the smartest, and she had to go and find herself, and I had to allow her to do that.
Absolutely.
But in me allowing her to do that also didn't mean which it was easy. It broke my heart.
Life is never easy.
So I went to CTA, and I remember CTA, I was so focused. I was like, I'm not even gonna fall into a relationship. I'm here to learn all these skills. I'm here to make sure, Guti, I promote my business. I'm here to make sure, Guti, I, take advantage of the opportunities. And I was that. I was a straight horse facing forward. Horse club. And I remember seeing this girl who was articulative, and most of the guys feared her, Every time I said fixing herself before the first session. I'm feel. But when it came to her, they say respect my name and the name in your tongue, like when you talk about me, compose yourself. Brothers would be like, hey Shmara, Utsidi, how do you approach a girl like Utsidi, And it's the same thing I was telling you, the fear. She went to opera school. You understand? So already coming from that background, she's sharp. How she articulates herself, how she thinks. And she comes also, because of that background, it makes her into this feminist that she is today. She's able to advocate for women issues, and she's able to take on men head on head. So I remember sitting there and we were talking like, because I understand bashasha. Because
she's smart.
And I sat there, I saw that as a challenge. I was like, I'm gonna challenge myself, because at that time also, after that heartbreak, my thing was I wanted to date a white woman.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's acceptable, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
And obviously for me, it was, I wanted to date a white woman for experience, but more than anything, to learn how to be successful, because I have been watching and seeing how these people are dominating in terms of the economy, way before understanding the race issue and everything like that. But when I came across her, I was like, woo, this one, now we can build a legacy. So that's how I came across her.
Nice.
I took it as a challenge to say I'm gonna prove to myself that I can get, that woman.
Let's talk about you being a creative, obviously content creator, in terms of the content that you want to produce on your podcast, and the importance of creating content for your people, your followers. How do you handle your creative? Sometimes creativity is not easy. You have to think it through, write a script, scrutinize it, look into it time and time again before you can give it to people. How do you go about? How do you find the important thing? Like during COVID, the president let the essential people to go to work because they were the most important.
Yeah.
How do you then, in your busy schedule, busy thoughts, select what is important in terms of content creation and what you want to give to people? How do you go about doing that?
Damn. So this is an exclusive. So the People's Journal is gonna drop a T-shirt, and the T-shirt, the front logo, the front slogan, it's gonna be written, "Even Jesus was authentic."
Nice.
And now going back to how do I come up?
I think I would buy that.
Even Jesus was authentic. Yeah.
I think I want to have it in my podcast, my next recording.
Cool.
I don't know when you're gonna drop it, but like I
would October.
Love to have. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'd love to have it in the
panel.
Yeah.
So now when we go back to my creativity and the creative process, I've found that I'm mostly creative when I'm in pain.
I see.
And I choose then to use that pain, to the utmost of my ability. I use creativity as an expression. I might sit down and conceptualize, I want to create that, but if it doesn't resonate with me healing from the process that I'm going through, because like I said, God uses me as an instrument. So in me healing, I then find, like when you think about I am born for people, we're in the middle, or the pandemic was still starting.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Already there was like a whole encouragement, a whole inspiration, right? A conversation that people needed to hear, because there was so much of this can happen, I can't be that, I'm losing that, I'm fading that, I lost my job, and people were down, and I was also going through a process where at work I was laid off, but when you think of I am born for people and the guest that came and how it was structured and how it came, the energies, you realize for me it was a healing process. Hence why people can even today go back and reference to that and say 1, 2, 3, because it changed perspective. Absolutely. So my creative process has to be, I feel like when I'm not in pain, I am not the most creative. I can just be doing some dull shit. I can just it's fine, but because happy, but not everybody's happy. If there's one thing that we all have in common is pain.
Look, I mean, even Bill Gates says success is a poor teacher.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And also and you also finding strength and encouragement in pain. It's absolutely gold.
Sure.
I think that's what unprivileged people, or should I say poor people, should see poverty as an inspiration not to become poor, or as an inspiration to seek for a better life or to better their lives.
Sure.
That's great, man. It's such an interesting thing, probably someone is like, what? How come I never realized that?
It's funny. I'm also reading this book. It's called, it's not The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Oh, yeah. Robin Sharma.
Robin Sharma. It's my favorite author, funny enough, because I have like a streamline of books from him. Yeah. Nice. So there's a quote there. He says, I have found seeds of opportunities in my pain experience. And I think now that's a line I live with, to saying in my painful experience, what are the opportunities there? How can I grow from there? Because most of the time when we are in pain, we are sort of like closed in. We do not see possibilities,
Yeah.
you know, but I try to see that as, what can this pain do for me?
Yeah.
What am I learning from this pain and
Yeah.
what I'm going through at that moment? So, yeah.
Great. We're going to take about 5 minutes break and then we'll be back and we'll continue the conversation, just to prepare some coffee and continue.
Sure.
Is that good?
That's good.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Sure.
You can just pause.
Yes, you can just, the cameras as well.